screw. We're going to tighten this down just until, let me see if I can do this on camera. You're going to see a small gap underneath my Allen wrench, just right there. You're going to tighten this down just until the gap disappears. And you'll feel a little bit of resistance on your wrench. And you can see that there's nothing pinching out. This next side is laying down pretty well. Now we're going to peer over. We're going to skip this screw. And we're going to peer over and look at this one. And look down inside to make sure none of the rubber is being folded over. And that should pinch down and set down very evenly without a lot of resistance. If that's happening, let's go ahead and put a screw in there. If something is folding over in there, you can get a small little Allen wrench, and you can play with the stuff down in there a little bit. You may even want to spit on it. I don't suggest using any soaps or any other fluids other than water and or spit on there because it'll evaporate. So now that one's pressing down perfectly. So I'm going to work my fingers, I'm going to hold that one down and work my fingers around and start helping those other ones seat into place. So we have a screw here. We're going to skip a screw. And now that this one's laying down, we'll go ahead and put a screw into that one. It takes a while to build tires. It can be kind of frustrating if it's not going together properly. So just take your time. Again, I'm going to show you that as I tighten this down, you never want to over tighten it. I'm just going to tighten it down until it touches. Now let's take a look at the screw in between. We have a screw here and a screw here. Let's take a look in between, and we can see that that one sits right down, and there's no gap in there, which means that that bead is being captured properly. So let's go ahead and put a screw into that one. I like to do every other screw. That way, in case there is a problem in between there somewhere, I don't have to take a whole bunch of screws out to fix it. I can just take out one. Go ahead and screw this one in. And again, we're only going to screw it in until it touches. We're going to continue this process all the way around until we're done. And I'm going to do it on tape here because we may run into a problem, and I want you to see what that problem is. So my screw, I've skipped one, and I'm working on this area now. And as I'm looking down and peering down in there, I can see everything is falling right into place, just like we want it to. So I've skipped a screw. We're going to put one more in. Get it started here. And again, I keep showing you this for a reason. We're going to screw this in just until it touches. Never want to over tighten a bead lock screw. Just like so. Now we can peer in here where there's no screw and we see everything's laying down flat. So we'll insert a screw there. Put it in just till it touches. Skip a screw. Okay. We're running into a little problem here. And I can feel that this one is pressing down, but I come over here and we can see that we have some issues with it not wanting to press down into place. So I'm just going to work that a little bit. Can lift up on the bead locks, press down on it. Try to figure out why it is not going down in there. So what I'm going to do here is lift up on this, and I'm going to separate the bead off the top. And see if I can't. There we go. I just press that down in, It was just misaligned a little bit on the top one, so it wasn't going in the bottom. There we go. So now it's pressing down just fine. And I'll restart my process of putting more screws in. It's fairly simple. It's just you gotta play with it and you gotta make sure it's perfect. If you over tighten your screws, it's going to strip the holes out and your beads are going to pull out. If you have them folded under, again, it's going to rip your tires out of the beads and you're not going to be happy. So take your time, make sure you get it done right. Alright, we're just about done with the front here and we're going to move around to the back. It's pretty much the same on the back, except for the bead lock itself is much smaller and thinner and it flexes, so there's a little bit of difference in how that goes on. Okay, next thing that you can do to make sure that it goes on is look around the edge here and make sure there's no buckling or warping. You can go ahead and pull on it and make sure that everything is put together properly. Now what I'm going to do is take my hands and I'm going to do it this way, and I push forward with my palms as I'm going around. And what I want to do is make sure that the foam and the bead itself on the back are going to fall into place properly. And you just keep working with it. And then pretty soon, what you're going to see is that everything pretty much starts falling into place. You can see that when we put the bead on that one, it's going to go right down in. Our alignment on this is decent. If your alignment is bad, sometimes the tire can misalign this way on the foams. You can go ahead and, again, work it with your hands so that everything falls into place and is properly aligned. I like to find a place on the tire that almost seats itself. Like we have this unit right here that just seems to want to fall right into place. So we like that one. This one right here next to it is falling right into place. This one's falling right into place. And as we go around, we can see that that tire is ready to put the bead lock on. So we're going to grab our rear bead lock, key in on that one hole that we like the tire tab on, and we're going to screw it in. Now these are kind of hard to tell when they're all the way in, so I'll show you how I do it. I'm going to start screwing it in, and I rub along the edge with my thumb, and it should be fairly even. So now I'm going to tighten it up a little bit and keep rubbing it with my thumb. As soon as I feel that start to bulge out a little bit, I stop. If you keep screwing this in, that bead lock is going to try to fold under, and you don't want that. So if you start to feel the bead pushing out from the wheel, that's when you're tight. On the rears, I like to do every screw instead of every other screw, and it just seems to work better for me that way. They are flexible enough that you can pull up on them if you need to work underneath. The fronts, you cannot do that. So again, you're going to see me doing this with my thumb, and what I'm doing is I'm checking the alignment. So as soon as that starts to bulge a little bit, I know I'm good. Going to reach in, and again, I'm looking at this a lot, and I can see that this one, once it's pressed down, is going to go all the way in. So I'm going to go ahead and put these two in. I know this particular one is getting pretty long, this particular segment. We're going to break it up into two sections. But it's very, very well worthwhile to watch how this is done because it's so important. And again, each time I do this, I come around, and if something's not aligning properly, I'm going to work on it a little bit until it falls into place. Sometimes if you're having trouble on one side, move back over to the next side. And just keep working your way around until you get all the screws in. There we go. Held up kind of high over here, and I'm taking a look, and it's because this is not pressed down in there. So we're going to work on that a little bit. This one just fell right into place. So we're going to go ahead and put that one in. It's all about looking and feeling. If you are having trouble getting the rubber to seat down inside of the plastic rims, don't be afraid to spit on it, because sometimes the saliva will allow it to slip in as to where it wouldn't when it's dry. You're going to do the same. We're running into problems here. You're going to do the same as what we're doing here with the front tires. Just kind of peeking down in here to see why those aren't falling right into place. Whoops, there we go. All I had to do is just lift up on this a little bit. Whoop, there we go. They just all fell right into place where I was having a problem before. They all fell right in. You can pretty much see that there's no screws in there, and they're still almost all the way seated down. So we're ready. That one just fell right into place. It can get frustrating. Don't give up. Remember to rub the side, and as soon as that thing starts to bulge a little bit, stop. I don't recommend, I know a lot of people do, but I'm not going to recommend using an electric drill or screwdriver on this unless you have it set to, the clutch set to feather weight with almost no torque, and then go around and hand finish them. Because the subtlety of being too tight or too loose is a very, very fine line. All right, we got one more screw left. And we're going to be done with our rear tire. If you're looking at this, you can probably, hold on here, get this last one in here. Okay, you can see that because the rears are so thin, we do get a little bit of, it's not exactly straight all the way around. You are going to get a little bowing in here, but shouldn't be that much. Once your tire's done, I like to just work it and make sure everything's square and straight in there. Look at the tire, make sure there's no bulges in the foams. You can pinch the sidewalls to make sure that the foams are actually seated all the way to the sides of the tires. And that's actually more important on the fronts where that foam is a lot thinner. There we go. It only took us 22 minutes, but we built a tire. Go ahead and repeat that process one more time for the other rear tire and 2 more times for the front tires. Once you've got that done, come on back and let's get the rest of this truck built.